basically, crime, and science. And behind these three forces are three sets of powerful institutions, okay? These are transnational capital, secret societies, and the last is elite families. Okay, some people call them the Illuminati. Okay, it doesn't matter. All right. So this is how the world works, and underpinning this elite is something called the occult, which we'll study later on. Okay. All right. So certain things that stand out about the system that you may notice is, hey guys, look. Transnational capital is also the game masters as well as the global economy, okay? This is important because, remember, this system is the parasite. And this system is a host. So transnational capital is both the parasite as well as the host. It's both the game master as well as the player. Okay? So this obviously leads to a lot of corruption. So then the question then is, how do we get this system? Where did this system come from? So let me go into some history, okay? So the year is 1688. And in Britain, that's something called the Glorious Revolution. Think of the Glorious Revolution as a marriage between two empires, the British Empire and the Dutch Republic, okay? England and Dutch Republic. At this point in history, 1688, the Dutch Republic is the richest area of the world because it controls the spice trade. In this time in history, spice is the most valuable commodity. The problem with the Dutch Republic is that it cannot defend itself in Europe, okay? It's easily invaded. It's also Protestant. So, and they are being attacked by the Catholics, Catholic France, the Catholic Church, as well as the Habsburgs, the Holy Roman Empire. So what they agree to do is they agree to combine their forces. All right. So what happens is the wealth of the Dutch Republic goes to England. All right, and creates something called in 1694 the Bank of England. Okay, so this is a private bank that is not accountable to the public. What it does is this: it prints money, and then who buys it? Parliament buys it. Okay? And this is a massive innovation that allows the British Empire to conquer the world. Because before, if you're rich, if you lent your money to a king to fight wars, that was dangerous because the king could die, or the king could lose the war, or the king could not pay you back, okay? But if you lend money to Parliament, which is the nation state, then you're guaranteed to get your money back as long as the nation is still around, okay? And at this time in history, England is the safest area of Europe because it's an island protected by the Royal Navy. All right? Okay, so this is an innovation that forever changes human history. And there are three major characteristics of this system, okay? The first is the idea of profits are privatized. Losses are socialized. If you're a rich person in the world, you want to put your money in the Bank of England because there's no way the Bank of England loses money. If England goes fight a war and it loses, England pays for it. But if it wins the war, then you get the money for it. Okay? So this is the first concept you need to understand. All profits are privatized. All losses are socialized, picked up by the nation state, the people. That's the first thing. Second thing is, in this system, the way you generate wealth is through activity. And what does that mean? It means wars, right? So if I give you money, you have to go do something with it. You have to go make more profit. And the way you do that is through fighting wars. And that's why the British Empire started to expand very quickly around the world, because it needed to generate profits for the bankers. Okay? So this includes, of course, the Napoleonic Wars, 7 of them. It includes something called the Great Game, a war between Russia and Britain for control of Central Asia. And also India, the conquest of India, and then the conquest of China, okay? Okay? Does it make sense? The Opium Wars. All right, so profits. So the second characteristic is that you're always creating more activity, all right? Okay. And the third thing is it's transnationalism, okay? Open borders. So it believes that capital should be able to move around from place to place. It needs to build systems in order to move capital from place to place, okay? And the last thing I want to talk about is, okay, this is great for the bankers, but the people look at this and they think that this is an unfair system, which it is, right? So now you have to brainwash the people into believing this is a fair system. And that's why you create a new idea called materialism, or money is God. And so what was happening was that transnational capital, Bank of England, was sponsoring major intellectuals to come up with the major ideologies to support the idea that money is God, okay? And these include, John Locke, who argued that private property is a God-given right, okay? It is an inherent right, as much as freedom, as much as happiness, okay? And he's the founder of a theory called empiricism. And empiricism states that we can only know what we ourselves experience. It is not feasible, it is not practical to try to come up with a theory of the world beyond our experience. So don't think about God, because God is beyond our experience, okay? Then you have someone named David Hume. Okay, David Hume. And David Hume argued for skepticism. And skepticism just says that everything that you know is actually not valid. Because what you know is just based on your belief, okay? So Rome is the capital of Italy. Have you been to Rome? Probably not, okay? So where do you learn this? You learn this in school by memorizing this fact. So basically, we should be skeptical of everything we know, because most of the stuff we know is either custom or habit, okay? So that's the idea of skepticism. So now the problem is, okay, skepticism and empiricism just means that we don't really know anything, and God doesn't really exist. So how can we design society? And so this creates a new idea called utilitarianism. Which is say that if it is useful, if it gives us pleasure, it must be good. Okay? If you take drugs and you are happy with it, it must be good. If you like spending money, it must be good. Okay? And this is from Bentham. And then John Stuart Mills will make some adjustments to it, okay? But this becomes the very concept of liberty. All right? Liberty just means that you are free to pursue as much money making as possible, because that is the ultimate good. That is what gives you the most pleasure in life, spending money. Okay, that's what liberty is. If a country prevents you from making money and spending money, it's an evil dictatorship. A good country allows you to enjoy the pleasures of making money. Okay? And then what will happen is that these are the three major philosophers of materialism. of British liberty, and then you have people like Marx come in. And he'll introduce the idea of dialectic materialism. Dialectic materialism. Which is say like the world is one of class struggle. It's not between God and us. It's not between the divine and the material. It's one between the poor and the rich, and that's it, okay? So Marx is taking out the divine from the equation. Then you have Darwin, theory of evolution, which basically says we're just animals, man. Okay, that's all. We're not divine beings. We're all just animals. Then you have people like Freud. Sex is awesome, guys, okay? That's what we should be doing. We should be making a lot of money and then having as much sex as possible, because that's what we are. We're just apes, okay? So this becomes the very foundation for the idea that money is God, all right? Okay, so what then happens is that transnational capital, which has conquered the British Empire, it's now seeking new opportunities for its investments, okay? So where it goes next is, of course, America. The problem is that the Americans just had a revolution to destroy the American, to get rid of the British Empire, right? So the Americans don't want transnational capital. It doesn't want Bank of England or City of London to come in and conquer it. So what happens is the City of London, the Bank of England, they use agents in America. And these agents, of course, are called, there's 3 of them. Okay, well, there's actually a lot. But these agents include John Rockefeller, Carnegie, okay, Andrew Carnegie, JP Morgan, Vanderbilt. And they will, by themselves, monopolize different industries with the resources and the capital of the City of London and the Bank of England, okay? So, of course, John Rockefeller monopolizes oil, okay? And then what will happen is that these very powerful agents of the City of London will get together and they will create a system model of the Bank of England. And this, of course, is called the Federal Reserve System. All right? And strangely enough, after the Federal Reserve System is created, 3 things happen, right? The first is that America enters World War I. Then you have the 1929 stock market collapse, followed by the Great Depression. And then 1941, America joins World War II. Okay, do you understand? So, Federal Reserve System means that, like Britain, America is now controlled by transnational capital, right? And it's the same system now, where profits are privatized, losses are socialized, and where it's important to open the country up to capital movement, all right? Okay, so as we know, America wins World War II, and what it does now is that it tries to move the system all around the world, specifically Japan and Europe, okay? Where it's able to control the territory. And eventually it fights a Cold War with the Soviet Union, but then it wins. And then it basically, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, for the next 20, 30 years, it has complete control over the world. Something we call a unipolar moment, all right? And during the unipolar moment, what happens is that manufacturing from America shifts over to China, and America completely focuses on finance. This leads to the 2008 Great Financial Crisis.